If you could be paying less on your mortgage, you'd want to know, right? First Commerce Financial will look at your current mortgage statement at no cost and no obligation to see if they can provide you with a better option. And if you're in the market to purchase a home, they can also save you money as they provide some of the best rates without the junk fees associated with most mortgages. They've already helped over 225 Floridians save money this year. The options they have available are ready to help you with your mortgage or refinancing needs. Simply call 248-207-2404 or visit them online at firstcommercefinancial.com. Mention you heard it here first on Warchant. Welcome into the Warchant.com report. It's always a pleasure to be with you, brought to you by our friends at First Commerce Financial. Here we go. Florida State, Boston College. How pumped everybody must be. Noon on the ACC network, but that's not the story of the day. Corey's to my left, of course, Gene's to my right. Let's talk about the dismissal of one Willie Taggart. Let go from his coaching duties at Florida State. Did the administration make the right decision? We could talk about the buildup here. Obviously, this had been a rough go. Florida State, having lost to Wake Forest backup quarterback, got a middling win against a bad Syracuse team, and then got blown out by a bad Miami team who had just lost to Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago. Those factors, amongst many others, leading to the decision. Did the administration make the right decision?
Well, yeah, we've been saying for weeks that Miami game was kind of make or break his tenure. Now, I got to say, I was a little surprised that it happened within 24 hours of that loss, that they booted him to the curb. So I was a little surprised. But, in hindsight, when we look back at this, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think David Coburn said it best when he said 6-6 is not acceptable. And that really was the best case scenario. If they beat Boston College, they're going 6-6. That's not good enough. There were no signs that things are going to get better. And by doing it now and not waiting, politically, it makes a lot of sense, because if he beats Boston College, you can't do it then. You got a bye week, you got Alabama State. So at that point, you're going to have to wait till after you get blown out against Florida to make the move, and you just cost yourself almost a month of lead time to be able to go out there and work on getting a new coach. Now, I know there's some things you can do behind the scenes when Willie Taggart is still here to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, but you could create a very awkward situation. If he's still on staff and you start putting some feelers out there and it gets released in the media, hey, they got a representative talking to PJ Fleck about the job and Willie's still here, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
You don't want that happening. So you get him now, you get lead time to do that, and hopefully you get someone in place where you can go ahead and get the ball rolling a little earlier on recruiting. You get some staff in place, maybe they can evaluate some of the roster and do some of those things that didn't happen last time. I think this administration learned 2 years ago that they rushed the decision. They didn't have a whole lot of time when that signing day come up. They didn't do a whole lot of vetting. They just went, hey, this is an FSU guy. He looks good on paper. Boom, let's hire him real quick. So now they go, look, we got a lot more lead time. They've hired a search agency to go in there and help them with this process, because let's face it, David Coburn's not a football guy. He's a smart guy. He's a political guy. He knows numbers, but I think they know they need some help this time. So I think all of those things add up. Yes, it was a very good decision.
Other than the wins and losses, what reason did the administration have, Corey, to fire Willie Taggart just 21 games into his tenure?
Well, that's a big one. The wins and losses weren't great. But yeah, I think more than anything, there was stuff behind the scenes that we all know about that maybe wasn't the most organized. You wouldn't want to have, you wouldn't phrase it as an organized operation. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the recruiting and what was happening to the roster, I think we all thought that it was Taggart was going to succeed because of his recruiting prowess. And he had been a great recruiter in his career before. So when he got here, we thought it was a slam dunk. I thought it was like Calipari going to Kentucky, like a great recruiter at a place like that. Holy moly, watch out.
Take care of itself, yeah.
What were they ranked even before this in the recruiting rankings? 15th or 16th? What was their class last year? Top 13? Nothing to sneeze at, but pretty pedestrian for Florida State.
Yeah.
And when you look at what he had coming in, the cavalry wasn't coming. And so when you look at the wins and losses, the fact that they looked exactly in game 21 like they looked like in game 1.
And that was alluded to by David Coburn.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, if he had a number 2, number 3 recruiting class coming in, you'd be like, okay, well, we see that the momentum is building towards with the program. But that wasn't the case. He was having the worst recruiting classes of the last, 15 years at Florida State, not the best. So that, coupled with the wins and losses, I think was why they're like, okay, we got to make a decision because this program is spiraling.
I think we go back, Gene, you alluded to this a moment ago, how hurried everything was the last time. And I think in many ways, everybody involved in this situation got burned because of that process, including Willie Taggart. In his defense, he had to put together, while trying to salvage a recruiting class, a staff on the fly. And I think he swung and missed. I think his coaches let him down. I think his football operations folks let him down. I think the behind the scenes was just as much a factor in this firing as the on-the-field product. Many of those things that you hear about in terms of disorganization play out that way on the field. The disorganization there, the inability to get lined up, the constant mismanagement of time and timeouts. 10 men on the field incessantly. 3 games in a row they had to do something about that because of 10 men on the field. That speaks of disorganization on the whole. And I think that really was the case. And so now the administration is trying to avoid that by getting a head start on this. The financial impact, the buyout versus drop in ticket sales, Willie Taggart's buyout is around $18 million. It will cost a couple million more to fulfill the assistant coach contract guarantees as well, Gene. What's it going to cost? They had to figure that in, factor all of that in, right? Keeping Willie Taggart as opposed to letting him go, and what's that going to do financially to Florida State moving forward?
Well, that's where having David Coburn in that role is good because he can crunch the numbers like nobody. You can see this. And that's the thing. When you start really looking at this whole situation, you go, it actually financially makes a lot more sense to do what they did. And I keep hearing, Florida State's going to have to write a check for $20 million. Oh, my God, they can't afford this. Well, wait a minute. Let's let this play out a little bit. So, okay, you go ahead. Let's say they get to 6-6. Let's keep Willie Taggart for one more year. We all notice there's not one person in that building, one person I think in the media that covers this think the team is going to be any better next year. It might have even been worse. Okay, let's say that saves you how much? 3 or 4 million on the buyout? So we're going to hold this whole thing out for a year to save. You're not saving 17 or 18, 20 million dollars. You're saving 3 or 4 million by waiting one more year. There's still another 3 years left in that contract. That's just not going away. So you let that go. Let's look at the drop in attendance. On average, Jeff, I looked at this year just compared to last year, which wasn't great. 17,000 less per game. So that's over 100,000 less people coming in here. They are losing tens of millions of dollars with the ticket sales, concessions, merchandising, and not to mention the thousands and thousands and millions in booster contributions you're not getting associated with, especially the season ticket sales.
So that's huge, by the way, John. I'm sorry, you know this, I know, but just to illustrate for everybody out there, I think that was hurting them as much as anything. They were not getting money they counted on.
Yeah.
Booster contributions that they rely on, the monies that they can expect to be in the coffers every year, that was going away because those boosters, powerful boosters, were saying, I am not going to continue to contribute to this.
Yeah.
Given the product.
You got that. And when you saw, people know if you get your ticket sales, there's the booster contribution goes along with it for your priority and parking. Everybody wants those primo parking spaces. You want the good seats. Every time you don't make one of those season ticket sales, that goes away. Plus the other donors, you're saying the big donors are just pulling their thing too.
Money.
So you're talking when you're comparing tens of millions of dollars to saving 3 or 4 million. It's an easy on any balance sheet, no matter how you add that up. It made financial sense to do this. So just from a strictly pragmatic point of view, absolutely it was a good financial decision.
All right, so for Florida State now, you look ahead. Obviously, Odell Haggins was announced as the interim head coach, and we all love Odell, and so you're going to root like heck for him to do well, and do well yet again. He's a guy that can kind of bridge the gap here, and certainly he bleeds garnet and gold. Florida State begins the process of looking for a new head coach. It's the second time in 2 years. Kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the storied history of Florida State, and yet
they hadn't really had a coaching search since 1976.
They find themselves in this position, but unlike when Jimbo Fisher rolled up out of here, they have more lead time now. How is that going to help Florida State find the right candidate and get it right this time?
Yeah, I mean, you're not just completely up against it. And I know there were all these rumors that Jimbo was leaving for Texas A&M, but I don't think that the administration that week was convinced that he was leaving.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was still a chance they thought that he was staying. This, you have, what are we looking at, 4 weeks? 4 weeks left of November, essentially, where, you get a leg up. You get a leg up. Number one, you're Florida State. No matter what other jobs come open, you're the big name. There's not going to be another name that comes open that I mean, there won't be really. Will there?
USC maybe.
USC, but I mean,
but Urban Meyer's
no.
going to get that job.
Yeah, and I still think Florida State is a better brand than USC. I know it's not LA, but I think Florida State's a bigger. But either way, similar. But Florida State gets to eat first. They will be for any candidate that wants a new opportunity at a big time school, they will be the best destination. I truly believe that. So it does help that you've already started advertising 3 weeks before you would have. And you don't have to sneak around knowing you're going to fire Willie Taggart anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to be put in that bad look situation where it's clandestine in the middle of the night.
You don't have to do that.
Auburn do 1 year, Louisville do another year, and all that stuff, right? You don't want to do that. That's a bad look. And right now, Gene, obviously, the big name that's been bantied about out there is Bob Stoops. A lot of people have heard that name, and no doubt that would be, I think, an interesting hire and one that would probably certainly help stabilize. But there are a lot of other names. They got to vet this. As you mentioned, they hired a search firm. This is not going to happen overnight, folks. There's a lot of the folks reporting out there that this is going to happen in 24 hours. It's just not. It's going to take some time. Who are some of the other candidates you're hearing?
Well, first I want to say the last one we're taping this on Tuesday. The last 48 hours have been absolutely crazy with all the Bob Stoops stuff. Looks like he's coming, he's out, whatever. So I don't know when this goes, what's going to be going on with it. But you're right. At this time we tape it looks very unlikely. And I do think he was their top target. I want to say that he wanted that. But sure, you do. When you want a supermodel as your, when you're going out when you're going out on the town. I'm sure Aslan knows all about that. So. That's your first choice, and that's great. He's the supermodel, would have been a home run hire, but let's get realistic. It doesn't look like at this time that's a realistic possibility.
Or that it's not imminent. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Something could change. He could be playing games and trying to, we don't know. But anyway, so let's talk about a couple other guys I will throw out there a little bit. One of the guys we put right at the top of our hot board when it first came out, and that's P.J. Fleck from Minnesota, and obviously done a tremendous job there. They're, weak schedule, but they are 8-0 right now. They are a ranked team. He's obviously turned that program around. He did it before with Western Michigan. Before that, really turned them around. But here's the thing: it's a little bit of a red flag. It seems you look at the resume, it looks a little bit like the last guy that was here. A CEO type guy that's going to come in. He's got a lot of, he's got a good personality, gregarious. I think it'd be a lot of fun to cover from a media perspective, but I don't know if that's what this program needs. The other name I'm hearing a lot of that I think, again, I say at this point because by the time we air this, we'll have it out, that I believe is scheduled to have an interview next week with Florida State, and that is Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator at Clemson, obviously.
Let's go.
Yes. Corey's on board with that one?
I've been on board with that for 15 months.
He's lobbied for it. Okay.
So, that's a guy that, has not been a head coach, but you want to talk about a guy that, you give it to Clemson at the same time. That's a positive there, and a guy that's kind of been waiting in the wings for that big opportunity to come along. Well, this is it for him right there. The last time Florida State got a highly accomplished coordinator, it came in, it worked out pretty well. So you got that situation here. But I think what they need is someone like that who's going to get in, roll their sleeves up, get in there, work their butts off, because this program's a mess right now. You need someone, and I hate to say it, but Jimbo Fisher, back when he started in 2010, he put in 16-hour days. He slept in the office. He obsessed over every single detail. I think you need someone like that to get in there and do that with this program. It costs Jimbo a lot, maybe in his personal life, but that kind of dogged personality, I think, needs to come in to save the program.
And you'll hear Mark Stoops' name as well, which I don't think is a name that would get people excited, but he's a good football coach.
He's a viable candidate.
Don't
you think Bob would help Mark? Like, that's my little brother, man. All right, if you need some help, I'll be an ambassador. I'll come and give you some
You'd like to think,
whisper in your ear.
Yeah, maybe Matt Campbell at Iowa State is a guy that's won. He's young, up and coming, but he's got Midwestern roots, so we don't know. But a lot of names are out there. I'd say hang in there. Obviously, they got a head start on it, like we're all talking about. All right, so one thing we do have to do is take a real quick sneak peek ahead at Boston College, a game that now I think actually Florida State has a chance to win. If they had made no move whatsoever after that game against Miami, I'd be sitting here telling you I think Florida State's about to get blown out by Boston College, and they may still. But I think having made the move, we'll see if you guys will differ opinions here about whether or not Florida State goes on the road and gets that win. There is the matter of trying to become bowl eligible after all. It's Warchant.com report.
Your home is one of the most valuable assets you will ever purchase in your lifetime. As a pure mortgage broker, our goal is to provide our clients with the best options surrounding that purchase decision. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance an existing home, First Commerce Financial provides 5-star service while saving you thousands of dollars along the way. If you are in Florida, call me at 248-207-2404 or reach us at www.firstcommercefinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. There is a matter of a football game to be played this weekend. Should note that our friends at First Commerce Financial we thank them for sponsoring the Warchant.com report. Florida State, BC, noon game, ACC network, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Hey, BC dropped 44 points on Syracuse in the first half last week. I actually listened to some of that game on my way to do the pregame show for our game against Miami. And I can't help but think, and I couldn't help but think at that time, we might be in trouble here. It's like BC's figured out their identity again. They run downhill with two gigantic backs. They're very physical. They challenge your manhood and say, do you want to play football today? Because if you don't, we're going to run and run and run some more. Odell said it this week. got to bring your big boy pads.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is an interesting game. I'll start with you. I mean, your thoughts on BC?
I know Syracuse is awful, but when you look at those rushing totals,
Oh.
496 rushing yards. That's not total yards. That's rushing yards. That is, they just emasculated Syracuse in every way, shape, or form. That's just it. But there's simply one key to victory in this thing. If you're going to go up there, I think it's going to be in the 40s at kickoff. This is a team that's going to want to smash at mouth you and run, like you said, with that big line, big guys right out. It's all about want to. How will they respond to the coaching change? How will they respond to Odell Haggins? If these guys are all in and really want to win this thing, and we heard, Marvin Wilson has taken on a big leadership role, and they really go out there, they're fired up, they can win this game because that's what it's about. But if they have any hesitation and they're a little jaded because of all the stuff that's happened, the coaches, the loss to Miami, man, they're going to get boat raced.
Yeah, that's my fear. I mean, I don't know how much this team's going to want to play football Saturday, and you have to stop the run. That's all about want to, is you have to be willing to stick your head in there and show that, hey, I can be physical in a game where Boston College, all they want to do is play physical. Now, you can exploit BC's defense, and it'll be interesting. One added side note here, that game plan on Saturday against Miami was an embarrassment. And I'm not real certain that...
Did they have a game plan?
Well, I'm not sure who was responsible for that game plan. I get it, but there's just a lot of things that happened in that game that didn't seem to make any sense from an evaluation standpoint. So what do they look like this week? I mean, pretty clear Odell is deferring everything offensively to Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator, including who plays quarterback.
Which didn't happen very much.
Which is something that was talked about behind the scenes quite a bit, that there was some meddling.
You don't think Odell will be on the headset on 3rd and 8? Kendall.
Yeah,
Kendall, the slant's open.
Get the ball to Cam Akers. No, I have a feeling that this is going to be an interesting looking game plan. Now, again, I think the game really resides in the defense for Florida State and whether or not they want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been pretty good against the run all year. I mean, Miami didn't even try to run the ball really until the end of the game. They knew they had no chance. That's what it comes down to, because I think if they're there and wanting to play, Boston College isn't going to put up 44 points. That quarterback threw 10 passes in that game. I think the week before he threw 6.
Yeah.
Like he's a former walk-on. He's just not
No
all
need
that
to throw
talented.
it if you can run it for 500
Sure,
yards.
that makes sense, but I just can't. Even as bad as this season has been, even as much as maybe there's some DNA in this team that they still might roll over, I can't envision them just getting pushed out of the way for 300, 350 yards rushing. I just don't see that. I do think Marvin Williams, the great former Atlanta Hawk Marvin Williams, who was drafted ahead of Chris Paul. Good job,
He's
guys.
going to be there, huh?
Yeah, Marvin Williams will be there.
That'll help.
Special guest.
I think Marvin Wilson, Robert Cooper, those guys will play hard. I just think they will. Oddly, the thing that I wonder about with this team is, do they want to make a bowl? Do they want to make a bowl? I don't know the answer to that, because some teams don't. Heck, Virginia Tech apparently had a player's vote that they didn't want to make the bowl last year.
Yeah, on the team bus on the way over to their final game.
Well, it's going to be El Paso, and you've got Akers going to play, Wilson going to play. I mean, in the bowl game, there's no way they're playing in El Paso in a bowl game and risking their pro career.
Of course
so
not.
why go to El Paso? I agree they may not.
So if that's the case, then maybe they don't play. I don't think the bowl streak, starting a new one,
covering the team in El Paso
means. I know, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
There's always the Gasparilla. Let's hope for that. That one I would go to.
We want to stay here, do the keys. I mean, we did the keys to the game just now. It's a want to. You want to stay here and make picks, or you want?
Yeah, let's make picks.
All right, let's stay here and make some picks. I had another winning week last week. So did Ira. Gene did not. Continues to struggle. He went 3-2. I went 3-2 as well. Here we go. Let's get to the picks. Louisville at Miami in a game that, you'd have to pay me to watch. This would be Miami minus 6.5. That Louisville team's playing pretty good football.
They are playing pretty good. I like the reverse hook. Go ahead and give me. I think Miami would have their big game and against FSU, a little letdown down there, and Scott Satterfield's bunch gets it done.
I like Louisville.
I do
like
too.
their coach too. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Well, Willie Taggart beat him head to head.
Well,
Just
true.
We're all taking Louisville. Doesn't matter. Penn State at Minnesota.
There we go.
I see what you did there. PJ Fleck and his boys are getting 6.5 against Penn State. Penn State's going to win this game by more than 21.
Woo!
21
let's
points.
see. I'm going to flex him. Now I'm going to go a little PJ here. The momentum builds. He gets the done. He gets the upset win.
Okay. The upset win?
You don't roll in there with the Gophers.
Okay.
No, I love those ferocious little rodents, man. They're something.
They are cool. The Gophers are cool, but no, I go with Penn State as well. I don't like Minnesota in that game.
No. Kansas State at Texas. Texas' season's not going as well as they had certainly hoped. They're given 6.5 here. Interesting game. I am really wrestling with this game, but I will take Texas to win by a touchdown covered by a half point.
Texas, big disappointment this year. I thought
Yeah.
they were going to be a little better than they were. Kansas State's playing pretty well, man. I'm going to go with them right now. I like it.
I like
And
your pick.
they beat the Tar. I know it's Kansas, but that was an impressive win for Kansas State on the heels of their big win against Oklahoma to go on the road and beat the tar out of a rival. Again, it's Kansas, but still, I like Kansas State getting the points.
I think both of you are on the right side. I hope I get lucky here.
What about that guy? He's done a good job at Kansas State. I'm gonna every game we do.
say,
I'm
how
gonna
about
say,
him?
"Yeah, what about that dude?
too.
Yeah.
What about that dude? That guy's done great."
Well, here you go. Another potential candidate.
See what I did
Mark,
there?
I did. Look at this. Here you go. But you didn't do it in the final
You know what? I
one.
should have been. It's too bad what is it? The
XFL.
Raiders. They're not playing.
Yeah, that would have been good.
The Dallas Raiders.
Kentucky and Tennessee is a pick 'em. The game's at Kentucky.
Two former defensive coordinators here. So I feel like whoever wins this game,
Gene's all
they're the
in
front
on
runner.
these right now.
Whoever wins this game is
Oh,
probably the
Pruitt's
front
coming.
runner.
Oh, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
he
yeah.
did
man,
wonders
would that
here.
be God?
He did wonders here.
Quit the business. That happens. I'll go do something else.
Who's
I'll
favored in that game?
It's a pick 'em. I will take Kentucky at home.
I'm taking every coaching candidate that FSU has to win straight up. So.
I like Tennessee. Tennessee's playing
Really?
well.
They're playing much
well.
better,
yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah.
But if Mark Stoops is worthy of being a candidate here,
He has to win this
got to
game.
beat Tennessee.
I'm done with the Stoops family.
Okay, here we
done
go.
with them.
LSU is at Alabama, the game of the week, and away we go. Bama's favored by 6.5. Give me LSU.
Man, finally a great man. Looking forward to that game. That's not what time is that?
3:30.
Can't make it a night game. No. What are they doing there?
I'll be watching.
I'm not going to bet against Alabama until they prove otherwise.
I'm betting against Alabama. Genie's not. You got?
I'm betting Alabama.
Both of you are wrong. All right, so here we go.
Two is
Boston
playing,
College.
right? Two is definitely playing.
Boston College is favored by 2 over Florida State, and I have no idea. I would not bet this on my card because I don't know which Florida State team shows up. I have no idea if they want to play or not. But I'm going to bet a hunch for the purposes of this show that they play hard for Odell and they do enough to stop the run. I'll take Florida State in a squeaker.
Okay. No, I agree with you. We'll know. I think we'll know at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, we'll know.
We'll
they
know,
could get blown out. It's
but
really
going in, this is you just flip a coin. We have no idea what's going to happen. Then I got to go with history. Florida State's played so poorly on the road. Emotionally, they got to be a wreck right now. This is a 1-2 game. I know they love Odell, and they'll say a lot, but we'll talk about that in a minute if they go out and actually do, what you're saying they may do, Jeff. But I got to go with Boston College. I'm going to go 31-24 Eagles.
They love Odell, but they love football. That's what you wonder about this team sometimes. Still, I like the Noles. I have a feeling. I have a feeling something magical is going to happen in Chestnut Hill.
So let's talk about that for a second before we sign off. What will it say about Coach Taggart and Odell Higgins if FSU is able to go on the road and win a game when it's an underdog? Because certainly Willie...
Just go on the road and win,
Just
period.
go on the road and win a game. Coach Taggart really did. That's another element of this firing. He could not win a road game, not without a gift from Louisville with a pick there with Puma Passley. It's been a while. What will it say?
Well, it'll be a further indictment of Willie Taggart, I would say, if you're able to, the first time he's out of there. And how about the last, you can argue, and I think you guys brought this up on Wake Up Warchant. The best 2 games they played the last 3 years, or maybe the 2 games under Odell. I know it wasn't great competition, but it looked like a team. They were out there, they were playing together. You didn't see all the screw-ups you saw on the field. So, if they're able to put in a similar performance and play hard and win this game, maybe even put up a fight against Florida and not get blown out.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
We are really wishing.
Well, I'm just saying. It could. You never know. It could happen here. So it would be a reinforcement of the administration to say you made an absolutely right decision.
So hold on. If Odell Higgins wins out, do we just keep him
Whoa,
as head coach?
yeah, he's got my vote.
If he
Forget
beats
Stoops.
Florida,
Forget
he
you,
gets
Stoops.
And if the beauty though is if he loses, he can say, "Well, look at the mess Taggart left me."
That sounds like what Odell would say.
Oh, well done. Good job, Aslan. For Corey and Gene, I'm Jeff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go Noles, and we'll talk to you next time.
Did you hear that? That is the sound of Florida State football. Be ready, Noles. You bleed it, now own it. Check out Tallahassee's #1 store for FSU gear, Garnet and Gold. Locally owned for over 40 years, turn to their team to bring you the finest selection of spirited apparel and merchandise for every fan. They're always happy to see you and always happy to serve you. Visit their flagship store at 1504 Governor Square Boulevard, the campus shop over on West Pensacola, or if you're on the north side of town at 1400 Village Square Boulevard, and always on the web at garnetandgold.com. Garnet and Gold, a Tallahassee tradition you can depend on. If you're a Seminole, they're your store. Go Noles!